Hello friends, today we're going to be working on a clothes dryer, and this is a Maytag Neptune series model MGD 3000WW if I remember right, and it's not spinning over freely. It just seems like it's dragging in the drum. These are very simple inside. There's not a lot of parts, not a lot of diagnostic skill required to figure out what's going on when one of these won't spin right. There's an electric motor with a belt attached to it that goes around the drum. There's two roller wheels on the back of the drum that act like support bearings, and there's what they call glide bearings in the front, which is a fancy name for two little strips of plastic that the front of the drum rests on. There's also some fiber insulation seal that goes around the front and back of the drum that supposedly could get jammed in there and damaged, but very uncommon to be that. Let's get into this thing and see what might cause it to not turn freely. And we'll get a hold of one of our rotating paddles and we'll turn it by hand. And it's quite hard to turn that by hand. The first step to access what we need to access is to remove the door. There's a pair of Phillips screws, one high, one low. We'll remove those, lift up a little bit on the door and slide it outward. Once that's done, we'll remove the two matching screws on the opposite side. That will allow us to gently grasp the upper rails, pull them both forward, tilt them a little bit, and then lift up and away for the whole front cover to come off. Let me show you. Here's what it looks like with the door off. We're going to grasp it on the top and snap forward on both sides, and then tilt it a little bit, and this whole panel will lift up and off. We're going to remove 3 screws on each side, the ones that don't have the little cutout around them. So that one, and then about 3/4 of the way up, that one, and then the one that goes through this little dark colored tab, and we're going to take that, swing it sideways, and drop it out. And we'll remember that when we put it back in, it hooks this way with the hook toward the outside. And these 2 1/4-inch screws on the bottom, those come out. Remove the door switch wires, blue on top, then gray, and then yellow on the bottom. And then we set that aside. When we lifted that out, the whole drum actually came out with it, which is kind of surprising. I didn't know the drum would do that. So now I need to, or I can, check everything is totally in there and make sure everything's right. This is the part we're going to be using. This is a genuine Whirlpool part. It's called a bearing and seal, and the part number is 306508, made in USA. And what that does is that sets, let's see, let's flip it around. It sets right here on the outer edge of this front frame. And there's another one here. I don't know if you can see real well, but they're worn down on the edge. This one here has quite a wear mark right there. It's been like hitting and bumping on that. And this other one over here is actually wore down to the, this one actually is wore down to the felt right here. And all that wear is causing drag on the drum parts. And we were in a hurry. We didn't want to wait for some aftermarket Amazon parts. I wanted to get this done today. So I went to my local appliance repair shop and I paid about $23 a piece for each bag. Each bag covers one of these. So you need 2 of them, one for each side. So with tax and everything, it was almost $48 for these 2 parts. And it comes with the cork back plate and the 2 rivets. And you are going to need a couple special tools to change these. You're going to need a drill with a little drill bit to drill off the head on this rivet right here. And you're going to need a pop rivet gun in order to install the new rivet. And you can get those at the discount tool stores for a very, very reasonable amount of money, probably under $20, maybe even under $10. And you look at the slides and they look fairly new. They're thick in the middle, but really thin on each end. I asked the gentleman at the part supply store what would cause them to wear out that fast if they had just recently been replaced. And he said the only thing he could think of would be overloading. When you do the actual drilling, there's really no set size you need for these rivet heads here. You can see it's pretty small, and I've got you just want something that's going to be big enough to drill the head off of the rivet. And it's just got to get through maybe a 1/4 inch, if that, of that rivet head, and it'll pop right apart. Let me show you. Well, I may have identified the problem on why these wore out so fast. The previous installation, first thing is they didn't use genuine Whirlpool Maytag parts. They used this white colored part here, which is almost certainly an aftermarket part. And the second thing is they put it on wrong. They put it on upside down. If you look at the slide mechanism, the blue part, the notch here is facing upwards, so the extra long part of the slide goes to the outside edge of the rim. When they had these installed, they had the notch facing downward, so that the longer side was facing down, when actually most of the wear takes place right up here along this edge. So if they would have had it upright like it should have been, there would have been more material up here in this area to even out the roller on the surface. Out edge faces upward, so we get more material on this side. We're going to angle it in like so, and then flex it a little bit, angle the other side in, push it down on both sides so it's evenly placed. That's how it's going to go. Let go of it. Now we take our glide slide here, and we set it up the same way, so this is facing up. We're going to push it in the same hole. It takes a little wiggling, like that. And then this one goes in the same hole over here. Right, here's the rivet that comes with the kit. That's called a pop rivet. And there's automatic rivet guns, a manual pop rivet. This is a cheap pop rivet handheld gun. And we're going to insert the rivet nail, it's called, into the head, like so. And then we're going to push this end through the material to be riveted so that the ridge of the rivet is even or flush with the surface we're riveting to. So we're going to find our blue hole there that's going into, push the rivet through the hole, and then through the material here on the, and see how it's all the way through and it's like flush in there? Once it's flush, then we squeeze the tool until the rivet snaps off. And now the rivet's nice and tight right there, and it won't come off. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. While you have it off, you want to inspect the rear support roller wheels. There's one on each side. You can see them right down here. Just get a hold of them, see if they wobble excessively from side to side, and make sure they're easy to spin. These have just been replaced within the last few months, along with the felt seal on the back side. So we're not going to have to worry about that today, and I already got in there and I checked them to make sure they spin freely. The other thing you want to check is the idler pulley for the drive belt, which is that white one right down there. Give that a little spin and make sure it's not seized up or too wobbly on the shaft as well. And now that's pretty much everything that you want to look for when you're changing out a drum that won't spin properly. You also want to check the belt. And we can see this belt here looks like it's almost brand new as well. Let's see. I'm looking it over. Still got the part number very clearly stamped in it. Oops. If you need a belt for this, 349, 533. And I just picked it up, wrapped the belt around it, used the belt to support the front end of it, and slid it back into place so that the drum is pressing inside of the felt seal. Hooked the belt back up underneath because it's so much easier to reach right now. There's not much of a trick to it. The belt is pretty straightforward. You wrap it around the drum, and then you get the other end down around the pulley on the motor. Then you pull the idler pulley back and press it, or slip the belt around the edge of the idler pulley. I'll try and show you. This might be hard to do because of how limited the space is down here, but we're going to see if we can show you how it works. The belt's already wrapped around the drum, so we're going to pull it tight and slip it over the drive wheel or the drive pulley on the main electric motor. Then we'll grab the white pulley, swing it to the left, and tuck the main belt behind it so the flat side is riding up against the spring-loaded part of the white pulley. Here's a really clear diagram, shows how it goes. This would be the view from the back side, so take that into account. Here we are, finishing up. The project went pretty well. A little issue getting the belt back on below the bottom cover there. And there's a trick to it I wanted to share with you. The belt, I'll show you, here's a diagram of how the belt goes. But what you want to do before you put the belt on is to set the drum assembly in place, but not put the back end up on the roller wheels. That'll let it drop down an inch or so, which will make it much easier to secure the belt in its proper position and wrap it around the idler pulley. Once you get it wrapped around the idler pulley and the main drive pulley on the motor, then you can reach back into the middle of the drum, lift up while pushing backwards, and pop it back up over the rear roller wheels. The next step will be to carefully fit this first end plate here with the airflow diverter down there over the edge of the drum into place. You got to carefully make sure all of your felt on it doesn't get tucked in or bunched up, and then gently lift up and over those glide pads I showed you. The glide pads are right down here in the front, and you need to lift this front cover plate up and over those glide pads without damaging them. And it's not hard, it's just you gotta be careful and pay attention to what you're doing. Then what I did first to secure this plate on was to attach these two long 1/4-inch head screws that go through that cover plate into the frame. And now the whole front cover is secure and won't fall off, which is good. And we can go ahead now and put on the door frame and then the door, and we'll be all set. And it looks like we don't have much left. Don't forget to put these little brackets back on. When setting the inner liner in place, use the top right and lower left screws to retain it in position while you're placing the outer cover on. The top left and bottom right need to stay open because the outer cover uses these same holes. And the rest is just the reverse of how you took it apart. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.